Hello and welcome back to another video tutorial here at GeekatPlay Studios. My name is Gary Miller. Well, this is a much different tutorial than I usually do, and with Christmas coming around the corner, knowing that everyone who watches these tutorials is making some great renders and producing some beautiful artwork, and with the holiday season, I know you're not going to keep all these images to yourself. You're probably going to want to send them to your friends or family members. And if you're like me, when you create a render, you probably create it in a lossless format like a bitmap image or a TIFF, and you have it probably somewhere in upwards of 2,000 pixels by 1,500 or whatever, and your total file size, is probably 10 megabytes. And while that's nice to have a high resolution, very well defined image, it's pretty impractical if you want to send it to somebody. Or better yet, since Christmas is coming up, what if you want to get mom one of those digital photo frames that you can load an SD card up with a bunch of your images and have it cycle through every 10, 20, 30 seconds, every minute or whatever. Well, you start loading that memory card up with 10 megabyte images, you're really going to start filling up that memory card pretty quick, especially if you've got a lot of images. And there really will not be any noticeable difference whether you are loading up a 2,000 pixel 10 megabyte image, or if you reduce it down to say a 1,000 pixel image saved in a JPEG format. The benefit, of course, is the file size. And if you've got a whole bunch of images and you want to reduce the file size of all of them, well, you're going to be looking at quite a lot of work having to do it all manually. Say, for instance, with all these images that you've been creating based on the tutorials that we've got here at GeekatPlay. What if you want to create a website and post your personal work up there, and you've got, I don't know, say 20, 30 images that you want to resize and post on your website? Well, if each image is 1 megabyte or 10 megabytes, whatever, that's not going to work considering typical bandwidth speeds. So you're going to want to resize them. And you're probably thinking, Gary's going to show us how to do an action. Yes, that's true, but still, using just an action, a Photoshop action, is still a lot of work if you've got to do each one manually. So thanks to Photoshop CS3, and this technique is also available in Photoshop CS4, and it might also be available in CS2, but don't quote me on that. They've got a great automated process that will do all the work for us. So to start off with, let me hide Photoshop. On my desktop, I've got two folders. I'll open this one up, and it's just a folder with, say, a bunch of my images that I want to send to mom, so I want to decrease the file size on all of these. Over here, I've got another folder, and I just called it Send to Mom or the Web. Essentially, this is a destination folder where all of my images that I reduce the file size on, I have to send them somewhere, and so I'm going to send them here into this folder. So coming into Photoshop, I want to take this image right here, Dawn at Sea, and I'll just drag that into Photoshop. So there's my image, and essentially what I want to do is, knowing that all of my images are the exact same size, which would also be true if you've got a bunch of digital camera images that you want to apply this technique to, I know right off the top of my head I want to decrease all of them by 50%, and I want to save them all to JPEG. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my action button. Now if you don't have that, you can come over here to Window and choose Action, and it'll be right here for you. Well, I've created a personal folder in here with my own personal actions, and you can just do that by clicking here type in whatever you want to call that folder, click OK, and it'll create it right here. Me, I've got personal. Well, I want to create a new action, so I'm going to come down here where my cursor is, right there, and I'm going to click on Create New Action. And I want to call this Resolution Decrease. Let me back up. Let me stop that recording. Hit OK. Okay, I'm going to create a new one. Resolution Decrease. It's going to ask me in what set in my actions over here do I want to save it in. Well, I want it to save it in the personal. So personal is fine. Function key, in other words, do I want to assign a hotkey to it? No. Color, well, okay, orange. That'll work. And I'm going to click record. Now I'm in the recording phase. In other words, everything that I do to this image to manipulate it will be recorded as a Photoshop action. Well, so I'm going to come up here to image and image size, and over here in pixels I'm going to change percent because I know I want to decrease it by 50%, so I'll type in 50 and hit OK. And now my image has been decreased by 50%, and over here in our action you see that everything I've done so far has been recorded. Well, I'm happy with that, so I'm going to come back here to image adjustments. You know what, I'm just going to apply auto levels to all of my images and come back here, and I will apply auto contrast. I'm not going to apply auto color, only because I know many of my images will not turn out very desirable using the auto color. So I've got, so far this action has recorded the decrease in the image size, the use of the auto levels, and the auto contrast. Now what we need to do is save it. So come over here to File, Save As. Now I want to save it in the folder Send to Mom or Web, and I'm just going to call it .c is fine, and I want to save it as a JPEG because the idea is to decrease this file size, make it more manageable for posting on the web, sending to friends, sending to mom, putting in it, saving it in one of those memory cards for a digital picture frame, etc. So .c, save it as a JPEG. I'm going to hit save, and well, I'll keep it at 12 maximum image quality, and I'll hit OK. Now that I am finished, I am going to close out of Photoshop. Now in my view render folder, these are the images that I want to apply that resolution decrease action to. Can you imagine the time that it would take for me to import every single one of these and apply that action to? It would take a long time. So I'll show you a quick way that we can automate this process and let Photoshop do all the work for us. I'm going to come over here to File, come over here to Automate, and I'm going to click on Create Droplet. And rather than explain what Droplet is, I will show you what Droplet is. So this droplet we're going to create, it's going to ask us where do we want to save it. Well, I want to save it on my desktop, so I'll choose desktop. And what name do I want to give it? Well, I'll give it the resolution decrease droplet, and I'll save that. And where is that droplet? It's down in my personal folder. And what action in my personal folder do I want to use? Well, I want to use the resolution decrease. Down here, once I have used that action and applied whatever effects have been recorded in that action, where do I want to save that image? Well, I want to save it in a folder. So I'll choose folder. And where is that folder located? Well, let me choose it right here. It's located on my desktop. Send to mom or web. I'll click OK. Override action save as command? Yes. All right, file naming. What name do I want to give the file? Well, I'll just give it the name that it already has, the name that the document name that already exists. And compatibility, yeah, for Windows, no. Mac OS for me, no. Unix, no. And I'm done. I'll click OK. and I will close out Photoshop. Let me reduce that. Now here is the Photoshop droplet that we have created, and this is how a droplet works. This is the folder that has the images that need to be resized. I will select all of them. I will drag them over onto my droplet. Now as soon as I release, watch what it does. Starts launching Photoshop, and look at the action going on over here. And I am done. Close out Photoshop, close out my target folder, and let's look at where open up this one and look at it has resized all of them. And now ferry rides is an exception, but that's because it was a very large image to begin with. But look at the size of all the other ones. Everything has been reduced down to 50% and saved as a JPEG, or it can be saved as anything else. I mean, whatever actions I assign to that action that we created will be performed on all the images all at the same time. So that's a helpful tip on processing, I don't know, one image, 10, 100, 1,000 images. All you've got to do is create that action, create the Photoshop droplet, and let the program do everything for you. So I think this will really help if you use your digital camera a lot and want to resize images and send to friends, or if you're creating a website with your work on it, or if you want to decrease the size of your images, a whole bunch of them at once, for one of those digital photo frames, and any other use that you would have for something like that. So this is kind of a different tutorial, and I hope you liked it. So thanks for watching here at GeekatPlay Studios. My name's Gary Miller. Have a good day.